Hello again, and welcome back to Bantam Battles, solo war games, RPGs, and tabletop sports with a small footprint. Robert Max here. This is log number 28. And I was looking back through some of my old videos and saw that the video that I did for this game, the one we're going to cover today, Gunfight at OK Corral, a solitaire war game by Minden Games, published last year. I looked at that video and thought, boy, what a terrible job I did. Um, you know, Going over this game. I know it was one of my earlier videos. I hope I've gotten at least a little bit better at doing this since then. But I wanted to get this game back on the table again anyway, and thought, this is a good time to do it. I know I said the Scarlet Heroes character creation was coming up. That will probably be the next video I do, probably. I also have completed the first week's action in the Bantam Battles American Football League. So I have a recap of that first leg with the scores and the tables, or standings if you live in North America. But I thought, this is a good time to give this game a whirl again. I've wanted to get it back on the table. I did play, prepping for this video, I did kind of go over it once again. I'm going to reuse this card here, and I'll explain that in a moment. That's why I have this crossed out. There's a bunch of different ways you can start this. You can, the normal way is you place the lawman, and, okay, I'm going to use this term. I'll use these terms for the rest of the video, but I think it's a very gray area who was right or wrong here. I don't know. Maybe I don't think anyone was right, but the lawmen, and I believe that term is loosely, we're starting them. You can actually place them anywhere you want, but I'm utilizing the historical placement. Now, no one really knows where anyone was in that 30 seconds of confusion. The historical placement comes from a map that Wyatt Earp drew many years after, this event. Normally, you could place the lawman anywhere you want in any one of these four positions, and you take the Cowboys of Cochise County, and turn the counters upside down, shuffle them up, mix them up, and then place them in the four positions without revealing them. And then I guess to sort of simulate a quick reaction or a quick decision, you flip those counters over, and as the lawman, you decide within, he suggests 10 seconds, who you're going to fire at. Okay, but we're not doing it that way. We're playing the historical scenario, so we already know where everyone is. Okay, and let's take a look at one of these counters just to give you an idea what the information on them means. We'll look at Johnny Ringo here. Now, Johnny Ringo is the strongest potential participant in the game. He has him and Doc Holliday. He has one better, 1 point of certain quality better than Doc Holliday, but we'll go over this. The first number, the +2 on the left-hand side, that's his accuracy. That's his firing accuracy. The +2 on the right is his experience. The letter A in the bottom left, that's his morale. And 18 in the bottom right, that's his gun speed. So we utilize those different qualities to determine firing order. And the firing order can change in the middle of a turn based on someone getting an injury, or, if they're killed outright, of course, they're not going to fire at all. But, there are modifiers to the firing order that we have to apply mid-turn. Now, the other thing you would normally do in the first turn is there are these counters, or these little chits I have in this coffee mug here. For the first turn only, you use these chits to further modify the firing order, I guess, just to give it a little bit of randomness. So we're going to do that now. I'll determine the firing order, and then we'll get through a first turn. So I'm just going to go down the line, starting with the Cowboys. +1, 0, -2, another 0, and we'll go to Virgil here. He's a 0 as well. +1. Whoop. +2. And a -2. Now, since I've already decided, and I have it here on my little index card, who I'm going to shoot at, I'm actually using the same philosophy or strategy that I used the last time I played it, as far as the lawmen are concerned. Virgil is going to fire at Tom McClary. Wyatt Earp is going to fire at Frank McClary, and Morgan Earp and Doc Holliday are both going to fire at Billy Clanton. You know, these guys are all familiar with each other. They know, at least as far as the Cowboys who are here, Billy Clanton's probably the best gunslinger, you know. So they're going to try to take him out. And another thing, Doc Holliday is using his shotgun, which he can only use once. He's carrying a shotgun and a pistol, but he's going to use this shotgun for the first turn. So right now we're going to do a determination of firing order, okay? So we'll start with Ike Clanton up there. Okay, so Ike Clanton has a 10. There's no modifiers for him this first turn. If he was using a shotgun, he would subtract 2. If he was wounded, you know, there are some other modifiers. So Ike Clanton's going to start out with a 10. Tom McClary. I have to reference the rules for a moment. Excuse me. Okay, Tom McClary's a 12. Oh, excuse me. I already made a mistake. All right, Ike Clanton is not a 10. He's an 11 because he has a +1 modifier there, right? So Ike Clanton's an 11. Tom McClary's a 12. Frank McClary's an 11. And Billy Clanton's a 15. For the lawman, Virgil Earp's a 13. Wyatt Earp is a 17. Morgan Earp is a 16. And Doc Holliday is a 15. But he's using a shotgun. That's an extra -1, so he's a 14 for this first turn. All right. So, now, and this is only on turn 1, we're going to check for morale. That letter in the lower right corner of the counter. You only check for morale on participants who are either B or C morale. And we use these chits again, so I got to put these chits back into the cup. And we're going to use these again to determine the morale. There's a possibility that one of those guys might bolt, you know, route from the scene. There's also a possibility that one of them may be armed or unarmed, but reaching for a weapon. He doesn't have his weapon in his hand. So we're going to check this now. So we'll check Ike Clanton at first. Now, there's a chart in the book or in the rules that tells you how to deal with this morale. Like I said, it's only on turn 1. So Ike Clanton gets a gold chit. And it says for morale C man, he's unarmed and he routes. So he's gone already. He's run away. And you know what? That actually happened, I believe. I believe he ran into Fly's boarding house. in photo studio. I'm not 100% sure. I do know, like later, after in the aftermath of this, he did press charges against the lawman. All right, so we'll check Tom McClary now. Tom McClary gets a white 2, and it's in italics. So he's a B morale. So it's, according to this chart, he's carrying a pistol. So he will be able to fire this turn. Now, what significance is Ike Clanton or any one of these guys leaving, bolting from the scene? Well, because we've already determined who we're going to fire at, if, let's just say, Virgil Earp was going to fire at Ike Clanton, he wouldn't be able to fire at anyone this turn because, Ike Clanton ran away and he was going to shoot at him. And, remember, we're trying to simulate in super slow motion 30 seconds. So, everybody's moving real slow while we're playing this game. It's kind of like a Zack Snyder movie, with that super slow-mo stuff. Okay, so anyway, now we determine who these three... Ike Clanton's gone. Now we determine who these 3 cowboys are going to fire at, and there's another chart in the rules. It's the cowboy target table. So I'm going to use this and the dice roll. This is the only time you use the dice in the game is when you're determining who the cowboys are going to shoot at. So we'll look at Tom McClary first. And I roll a 6. He's going to fire at Doc. So Ike Clanton's gone. He's going to fire at Doc Holliday. Now Frank McClary. He's also going to fire at Doc Holliday. Yep. And Billy Clanton. Billy Clanton is going to fire at Virgil. So I would say not the best decision for all of them because, Frank McClary is in short range to Doc Holliday. In the basic game, the red lines, if the counters are connected by red lines, it's considered short range. If they're not, it's considered medium range. The black lines, which are in like one of the alternate scenarios, all the black lines are medium range shots. Those are going to be 2-hit modifiers when we get to the actual combat. Excuse me, and you'll see what I mean when we do get there. Okay, so now we've determined who's firing at who. Now we go back and look at our firing order, or our gun speed, modified gun speed for the first turn. And it looks like Wyatt Earp is going to be the first guy to fire. Well, Wyatt Earp is firing at Frank McClary. They're connected by a red line, so it's short range. Now, in this game, the base number to hit is a number 7. And you can see that from the reference card here. But there are these modifiers, and they're cumulative, that we add to that, add or subtract to change that base number, and then we'll draw a card. And you'll see how we do this. So, we look at his accuracy. So, the base number to hit's a 7. He has an accuracy of 2 and an experience of 2. So, that's 4. That takes his base number up to 11. And, of course, using playing cards, an 11 would be a jack. An ace is the lowest card with a value of 1 up to a king, okay? So jack's an 11, queen's a 12, king's a 13. Okay, so he's up to a jack right now. Now, is he firing a shotgun? No. Is he firing at medium range? No. It's not turn 2 or turn 3. He's not wounded. It's not a different target than the last turn because it's the first turn. So anything jack or lower is a hit for him. And he draws a 5. A 5 of hearts. Okay, so now we move to the hit location and severity table, which is the next one right here. Draw another card. And it's a 3 of diamonds. He's using a pistol, and a 3 of diamonds says that Tom McClary received a light wound to his foot. So I'm going to mark any light wounds above the person's name, any major wounds below. And I'm just going to put a little note over here that it was, or actually I'll make this here, a little foot, an F. And he gets 1 mark. Oh, one other thing I forgot. Doc Holliday, due to his weakened condition, suffering from tuberculosis or consumption, starts the game in a weakened state. So he only takes 4 hits until he's unconscious. And that's what this means here. When you fill this hit roster out, once they've reached and have, I put an X in that final column. That means the person is unconscious, bleeding out, and then you can, if you want at the end of the game, roll to see if they live or die. Okay. So anyway, so Wyatt Earp is finished for turn 1. Okay. Next we would have Morgan Earp. And Morgan is going to fire at Billy Clanton. So let's look at his modifiers. Okay. His experience, or his accuracy and experience are both 1s. That gives him a +2. That takes his 2-hit number up to a 9. And it's short range. So all the rest of these modifiers don't apply on the first turn. So he needs a 9 or less for it to be a hit. He draws a 3. 3 of hearts. And then we look at the severity table. He's also using a pistol. 2 of diamonds. On the severity table for a pistol is a light wound to the arm. So Billy Clanton receives a light wound to the arm. That's 1 there. And he gets 1 mark on his hit roster. Okay, so now we've done we've done Wyatt and Morgan. Who's next? Next is a 15. It's Billy Clanton. Well, Billy Clanton is going to shoot at Virgil Earp for some reason. But that's the way it came. So, luck of the draw, or luck of the roll, I guess you'd say. Excuse me. So Billy Clanton's accuracy is a 1. His experience is a 2. That's a +3. That takes him to a 10. However, he's not firing a shotgun, but he is firing at medium range, so that's a -1. Takes him down to a 9. So he needs a 9 or less. He gets the 9. And 5 of diamonds. 5 of diamonds with a pistol is a light wound to the shoulder. So Virgil Earp is wounded in his shoulder. I'll make that an S there. Takes a light wound. All right. So after Billy Clanton, now we have Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday, +2 accuracy, +2 experience. That's a 4. He's using a shotgun. That's a +1. And it has to be a shotgun in short range. And he's firing at Billy Clanton, so that's a +1. That takes him to a 5. So he needs a queen or less. And he gets a 3. Oh, by the way, I did shuffle and cut the Maverick playing cards before we started. I thought, I mentioned that in the last video. Appropriate deck of playing cards. So anyway, he gets the 3. So that means it's a hit. Now we're going to look at the hit severity table, and it's a shotgun, remember. So we look at the yellow table at the bottom. It's a 5 of spades. So 5 of spades is KIA. So Billy Clanton's gone. He's dead. So we can take him off the table because he's gone. All right. So after Doc Holliday, we have Virgil Earp. Virgil Earp. Oh, wait. Virgil Earp is wounded, and I forgot to adjust. He drops to a 12. So now he's tied with Tom McClary because he's a 12 now. For every light wound, you modify the firing speed by 1. If it was a major wound, you would lower the firing or the gun speed by 3. So he drops to a 12, which ties him with Tom McClary. The rules say if you have 2 shooters that are tied, you then refer to their experience, and whoever has the higher experience would fire first. And if that's tied, you do a die roll. Well, both Virgil Earp and Tom McClary have an experience of 1, so we're going to have to do a die roll, and the higher one would win. So let's see. Okay, the red die is going to be Tom McClary, and the black die will be Virgil, and it's Tom McClary. So Tom McClary is going to fire. So let's look at his numbers. +1 accuracy, +1 experience. That gives him a modifier of +2, takes him to a 9. He has none of the negatives. He is not. Oh no, he does. Actually, I'm wrong there. Another mistake. That's okay. We'll fix it. He's an 11 because he has a minor wound. So they're not tied. Virgil gets to fire first. Okay, Virgil +1 accuracy, +1 experience for a 9 base to hit number. However, he is wounded. He has a light wound, 1 light wound. That takes him down to an 8. So he needs an 8 or less. And boy, everybody's hitting this time around. Okay, so he gets the 2. And Virgil was firing at Tom McClary. Gets an ace of clubs. And an ace of clubs with a pistol is a light wound to the arm. So Tom McClary now has a light wound to one of his feet or leg and one to his arm. That takes his firing number down to 10. Okay, so who's next? Well, we resolved Virgil, and we got Ike Clanton. Well, Ike Clanton's gone, so he doesn't matter. He bolted. Next would be Frank McClary. Frank McClary has a +2 accuracy, a +1 experience. That's a +3. He does not have any wounds. It's the first turn, so he's going to fire with the +3. That takes him to a 10, so he needs a 10 or less. He gets a queen. That means he misses. All right, so Frank McClary is fired, and that leaves Tom McClary. So now Tom McClary is going to fire. He's firing at Virgil. Oh, and by the way, Frank McClary was going to fire at Doc Holliday. All right, so anyway, he did fire at Doc Holliday and miss. Okay, now Tom McClary, he's firing at Virgil. He's at a 10. And the rules state that if a player is at, or a participant is below a 10 on their firing speed, they can't fire that turn. So in other words, if due to a modifier of who they're shooting at, like medium range, they can't fire. So anyway, he's at a 10. He can fire. He's a +1 accuracy, +1 experience for a 2. But he does have 2 minor wounds, so that wipes those 2 things out. He's firing at short range, so there's no modifier there. So he needs a 7 or less. And he gets a jack and misses. Excuse me. So that resolves all the firing for turn 1. Now you would do the same thing again. Now I'm going to do this real quick. I'm just going to have Virgil and Wyatt fire at McClary. Morgan and Doc Holliday fire at, Virgil and Wyatt fire at Tom McClary. Morgan and Doc Holliday fire at Frank McClary. So that's what we're going to do there. But we have to roll for the Cowboys to see who they're going to fire at. All right, so we go back to the Cowboy target table. And I'm going to say the black die is Tom and the red die is Frank. Okay, the black die is Tom. He rolled a 4. He's going to shoot at Wyatt this turn. So he's going to shoot at Wyatt Earp. And the 1 man opposite. So Frank is going to shoot at Morgan Earp. Okay, and then what we would do is go through the firing order again, taking into account any wounds that these men have, and determine who's going to fire first. This video is already close to 25 minutes long. I'm going to stop it here. I will finish the game off camera, and I'll be back with another video. to do an after-action report and a wrap on this game. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Okay, change of plans. I decided to finish the game now. Off camera, I did determine the firing order for turn 2. One mistake I did make was when we said that Doc Holliday and Billy Clanton were tied. That wasn't true because Billy Clanton did have a light wound. So he never would have fired. Doc Holliday would have fired at Billy Clanton before Billy Clanton fired at Virgil Earp. Doc Holliday killed Billy Clanton, so I removed Virgil Earp's wound from the first turn, and we're going to go on from here. Okay, so we've determined the firing order, and one of the things like that, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but like Doc Holliday's firing order is a 7, or firing speed is a 17, but as you can see, I have him reduced to a 15. He doesn't have any wounds. Yes, he does start in a weakened condition, but the rules do not state that you apply that to his firing speed. It doesn't really make sense to do that, because if that was the case, his firing speed should just start at a lower number, in my opinion. I mean, I guess you could do that if you want, but I didn't. However, he did use his shotgun first turn. So in this turn, he's dropped the shotgun and reached for his pistol. The rules state that he can shoot that turn, the coming turn, where he now has his pistol in hand, but you subtract 2 from his firing number, and that's why he's at a 15. So I said previously that Virgil and Wyatt were going to fire at Tom McClary, Morgan and Doc Holliday were going to fire at Frank McClary. Okay, so looking at our firing speed chart for turn 2, the first person to fire is Wyatt Earp. He's firing at Tom McClary, +2 on the modifiers. That gives him a +4. However, it is turn 2, so you subtract 1. And I think what he's trying to simulate here in turn 2 and turn 3, where you actually subtract to the base to hit number, is due to the dust in the air and the gun smoke and the confusion that kind of slows the shooter down a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's what he's trying to accomplish here. So Wyatt Earp, instead of being a +4, he becomes a +3. So his base 2 hit number is a 10, and he gets a 7. So he does hit, and a 4 of spades. Let's see what that says. 4 of spades is a major wound to the leg. So Tom McClary now has a major wound to his leg, and that's 3 marks. And he's not going to be able to fire because his firing speed is going down below 10 due to all these wounds. Okay, so he's not going to be able to fire this turn. All right, so Wyatt Earp. Next we have Doc Holliday. He's firing at Frank McClary. He's now using a pistol. He's a +2, a +2. It's 4, -1 for turn 2. And so that's a 3. That takes him to a 10. He rolls a queen and misses. So Doc Holliday is fired for this turn. So I'm going to remove that 16. And Doc Holliday's 15. Next would be Morgan Earp. Morgan Earp is firing at Frank McClary. Morgan Earp does not have any wounds. He's a +1 and a +1 on accuracy and experience, but we subtract 1 for turn 2. So that takes his 2 hit number to an 8. And he misses. Okay. So now Morgan's done. And now we have Virgil Earp and Frank McClary. They're both tied at a 13. Well, and they both have a +1 experience, so we're going to have to do a die roll. I said he only rolled dice once in this game. Well, as you can see, that's not true. Okay, so I'm going to say black is Morgan and red is Frank. And Frank gets to go first. Okay, so Frank has +2 accuracy, a +1 experience. That takes him to a 3 modifier. However, it is turn 2. That takes him down You subtract 1, that takes him down to a 2 modifier. He's not injured. So his 2-hit number is 9 or less. He rolls a 6, so it's a hit to Morgan, and it's an 8 of hearts. And an 8 of hearts is a light wound to the abdomen. And that's for Morgan. So he has a light wound to the abdomen. And that leaves Virgil to fire. He's firing at Tom McClary. Tom McClary, who's in a pretty bad shape right now. So Virgil is a +1 accuracy, +1 experience, -1 for turn 2. That's a +1. He needs an 8 or less to hit. He gets a 10, so he misses. Okay, so that concludes turn 2. And now we go to turn 3, which is the final turn of the game. You know, remember, this is 30 shots in 30 seconds. So the final turn of the game, we'll do determination of firing order. We'll start with Tom McClary. Tom McClary is gun speed of 12, but he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wounds. That takes him down to a 7. He's not going to be able to shoot, right? So he's not going to be able to shoot again. He's suffering pretty bad. Frank McClary is a 13. He has no wounds, so he stays at 13. Virgil is also a 13. No wounds. Wyatt doesn't have any wounds either. He's a 16. Morgan is 1 wound, so that takes his 14 down to a 13. And Doc Holliday, also not wounded. He stays at a 17. Okay, so Doc Holliday is going to get the fire first. And I'm doing the same thing, you know. Virgil and Wyatt, Tom, Morgan and Doc Holliday, Frank. So Doc Holliday is a +4 with his accuracy and experience modifiers, but it's turn 3, so now you subtract 2. So now he's only a +2, so he needs a 9 or less to hit. He gets a 2. He's firing at Frank McClary, gets a 10 of spades. 10 of spades is a KIA. So Frank McClary's gone. All right. So Doc Holliday's fired. This is a 13. Next we have Wyatt. And Wyatt is firing at Tom McClary. +2 accuracy, +2 experience for 4. -2 for turn 3. He doesn't have any wounds. So he has a base to hit modifier of 2. He needs a 9 or less. He gets a 6. And an ace of spades. So let's see what ace of spades is. Ace of spades is a major wound to Tom McClary. So Tom McClary is not dead, but he's unconscious, suffering from a major wound. So we don't have to go any further on turn 3. It was a total victory for the lawmen, if you will. Only one of them sustaining a minor injury, and that is Morgan Earp. He was wounded in the arm. So, you know, let's do the determination to see whether or not Tom McClary survives. And there is a... I got to find it here in the book. I think it says on a 1 or 2, a roll of a 1 or 2. I believe that's what it says. I can't find it right now. On a roll of a 1 or 2, he dies, and anything else he survives. And 6, he survives. So he would have survived this ordeal. And Ike Clanton survived as well because he bolted. So total victory for the lawmen in this game. You know, just to do a wrap on it, I do like this game quite a bit. Yeah, I fumbled a little bit better, although I still think this video is going to be a better explanation of how this game is played than the last one. One complaint I would have is this reference card has a lot of great stuff on there, but there's still some things that you would need to refer to the book for, like the modifiers that you apply for wounds and things like that. I think it would be nicer if the reference card was a little bit bigger and had all the tables, including the cowboy target table. You have to go back into the book to get a look at that. But overall, a fun game. And I know this is one of my longer videos, but I decided, you know what? I was really close to finishing it. Why come back another time? Let's just put this all together. So this is going to be a revisit and wrap on Gunfight at OK Corral, published by Minden Games last year, 2021. It's available on at Minden's website and also the Wargame Vault. So that's going to do it for this episode. Coming up next would be the Scarlet Heroes character creation and the first leg results of the Bantam Battles American Football League. That's going to do it for this one. Until next time, take care.